We begin in Nigeria's North Central, where the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, says 13 persons died, while 2 were injured in an auto crash in Kogi State. Samuel Oyedeji, Kogi FRSC sector commander, said the incident occurred around 7:30 p.m. on Sunday. It disclosed that the accident involving the commercial Sharon bus and an articulated cement truck occurred in Obajano Market along Obajano Lokoja Road in Lokoja local government area of Kogi State. The sector commander said the Sharon bus had packed behind a truck around the market for passengers to buy some things when the cement truck lost its brake and rammed into it from behind. The chairman of the All Progressive Congress Caretaker Committee in Rivers State, Tony Okocha, has knocked some chieftains of the People's Democratic Party, PDP in the state, over the recent declaration of support for President Bola, Tinubu and Governor Siminalayi Fubara. This came as a direct reaction to the press conference by former national chairman of the PDP, Uche Secondus, the former Minister of Transportation, Abiye Sekibo, among others who declared their support for Tinubu and Fubara. While addressing the press conference at the National Secretariat of the party in Abuja, Okocha said most of all those PDP elements are still in Atiku's camp. He also faulted their declaration of support for President Tinubu, saying they are the ones giving Governor Fubara the confidence to challenge resolution of President Tinubu on the political crisis rocking Rivers State.
If the midnight pseudo-lovers of Mr. President today, as shown in their text under critique, if they are now convinced that Mr. President is abundantly fit and proper to preside over Nigeria, and that his 10 months in office has provided renewed hope for an El Dorado for Nigerians, and choose to recant their hitherto unsavory and unprintable toxics against Mr. President, they should follow the proper channels allowed for porting or decamping to any political party. This approach of browbeating and blackmailing they intend to use is not fashionable at all. No sane host tolerates a guest who attempts to enter his or her house through the window when the doors are wide open. That's 6 out of 8. Why are the other 2 difficult? What are the 2? Go and conduct local government election. And if you are governor, you are almost there for 1 year, and every day you think you are carrying crowd, you should just test the waters and find out that those crowds you are carrying are rented. When a man is hungry and you say, hey, enter the bus, we are going for somewhere, I will give you 5,000. They will push each other to enter the bus. That's the kind of crowd he has. He doesn't have the people. And Rivers.
The Kaduna State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, suspended a woman's leadership, Miriam Suleiman, for criticizing Governor Uba Sani over the huge debt inherited from the previous administration. Miriam said Sani was the arrowhead of all the loans secured by the El Rufai's administration. She said she was deeply involved in all. The party accused Suleiman of carrying out actions to tarnish the governor's reputation. Governor Sani had on Saturday said the El Rufai administration left a huge debt burden, among which is 85 billion naira and 115 contractual liabilities for the state. Governor Sani's spokesman, Alhaji Muhammad Shehu, said that the governor would not dignify the son of the immediate past governor, Nasir El-Rufai Bashir, with a response to his attack on the governor. Earlier, Bashir tackled the governor, saying what he was looking for is a cheap excuse for his incompetence. And to talk about this in detail, I'm joined live on the news by a political analyst, Chukwuma Okenwa. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Okenwa, what were your initial thoughts when you heard the All Progressive Congress, APC, suspending its woman leadership for criticizing Governor Uba Sani over huge debt inherited from previous administration?
I think it's in tandem with Nigeria political culture, where dissenting voices are not in any way accommodated. And I think that is least expected from a political party, because, of course, criticism, whether within or without, a political party will help the party to strengthen out its ideal More so when a criticism comes from someone within, it should be interpreted as like the truth coming from a friend for someone to do better, not necessarily like a tool for maybe like a kind of victimizing or ostracizing someone for further discipline.
Well, I mean, looking at it from the point of view of the party, they are saying they have the right to suspend Miriam Suleiman. Do you think that is correct?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if the moment you enlist as a member of a political party, what you are trying to say is that you're going to first of all abide by its principles, align with its ideologies, and of course be submissive to its constitution. So if the constitution prescribes certain conditions for which a leader can actually be suspended, and then so be it. Because when you refer to court in most cases, the court will also refer you back to, what the APC constitution says.
When you say there's a constitution in place in terms of, party affairs or members of a political party, I'm wondering where does that leave, freedom of expression and also speaking truth to power? You would agree with me that one of the bane of good governance is the ability to speak truth to power. So what would that mean for good governance in Nigeria? Mr.
Well,
Okenwa, yes.
in terms of good governance, right? I mean, when
Well, since we're having connectivity issue with Mr. Okenwa, we'll try to connect with him, hopefully in the course of the news. Away from that, ahead of the one-year anniversary of the current administration, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has continued inspection of several key projects expected to be commissioned by President Bola Tinubu. The minister paid a visit to some of the projects within the Abuja Municipal Area Council, saying many of the projects are almost completed and approve of President Bola Tinubu's commitment to providing infrastructure to residents of the capital. Amadine Oyi has details.
6 key roads and bridges were earmarked to be inspected. The team from the Federal Capital Territory Administration, led by the Minister Nyesom Wike, visited all projects expected to be commissioned at the one-year anniversary of the current government on May the 29th. Wike received updates from representatives of all the project contractors.
We are already on the electric poles, the light, street lights. We have done about half of it. I believe in the next 2 weeks we'll complete it all.
The other buildings down, APC, CSO is also painted, facade, 90% inside already executed.
The space is not too much for us. There's something we can do maybe under 1 week. The major problem that we have is just the macadam, and we already started.
This is an important road because it connects expressway when finally completed.
The minister gave an update on some of the projects visited.
We have been to 6 sites today. We went to the south and the central government. Talk to him. And the contractors reaffirmed that project will be handed over to us first week of May or thereabout. Then we went to the VP's residence, which they have no bachelor's degree, and you can see that they have said they have done not less than 90%. By next week, they are doing the practical classes and the rest of it. So that also, when it is good, they have to over to us by May.
He says that there will be no rest for the inspection team in view of the fast approaching May 29th ceremony, and assured citizens that President Bola Tinubu will continue to keep his promises to Nigerians.
These projects are not the only projects we are expecting to be handed over to us. We believe that after the public order of body, we are meeting with all the contractors on Tuesday to know how ready, and then on Wednesday, we are also going to see some sites at Mozambique and other areas to see the level of the partners. So for us, we are happy with what we are seeing. And we thank God that, like I've said before, the lead group agenda is working.
The minister also assured that the project being constructed will meet the highest standards. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
You're watching News Central now. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. The Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oborowori, has been urged to prevail on President Bola Tinubu and the NDLEA chairman to rescue the Honoria family's second son, Eremosela, from total blindness. Stray bullets from the guns of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency officials shattered the left eye of the boy and his mother's shop during a raid in Okpama, Delta State on July 13, 2023. The same stray bullets took the life of his elder brother, Ivan Omoria, during the incident. News Central correspondent Austin Azu paid a visit to the family in Okpanam Road suburb of Asaba State and has details.
It has been 8 months and 13 days after the incident that took place here in Asaba that led to the early death of a 2-year-old boy who was cut short by a straight bullet of NDLA. 8 months and 13 days thereafter, the younger brother of Ivan, who was cut short by the NDLA bullet, has been battling for his health. I'm here at his father's house, Fidelis Omoria, to seek what has happened so far about the younger brother who has been ill for some time now.
On the 13th of December, I have to go and bury my son at the mortuary. Since the chairman has come, that there's no issue and all that. So when I buried my son, they now told us that since we have buried my son, my first son, that we should not worry. Within a short while, they will get the visa and the expedited date for us. With the chairman, NDLEA, I was in communication with him. He was assuring me every day that they will do the needful, that I should not worry.
The father, who explained the various stages gone through after the promise made by the NDLEA chairman, including securing a traveling visa that was unsuccessful, said in spite of the urgency that the trip requires, the family regrets that little or nothing is being done to expedite action. He said the family not only battled with the irreversible damage that was done to their psyche, but they were also saddled with the burden of paying the enormous hospital bills that come with treating the child.
Governor Sheriff Oborowori, to help me prevail on the federal government and the NDLEA to help me save my son. I don't want him to die again. At least I've lost one. It's okay. Let's see how we can put us together to rescue, to save this one.
The son's mother, who couldn't hold back her tears, said they can't watch their only son losing his sight after losing their first son. She lamented the sleepless nights they have been experiencing because of the deteriorating health of the child, saying they can no longer wait till 2025 before the visa approval to take the child abroad for surgery.
I'm begging the governor, please help us speak to Marwa, the president, Ahmed Tinubu. Please come to our aid. Come to our aid. I cannot lose a child. And I have a child lose an eye. The whole reason for those surgery is to help to get his sight back intact.
Efforts to reach out to the NDLEA chairman were unsuccessful.
8 months and 13 days thereafter, this young boy here is still battling for his eyesight, who was wounded by the straight bullet from the NDLEA. They are all appealing to the federal government and relevant stakeholders to come to their rescue to enable this young boy regain his sight. In Asaba, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Away from that, the persons living with disability in Abuja have scored the performance of the current government high in reaching out to members of the disability community. This was as they converged on the Unity Fountain in Abuja to mark the Easter celebrations and celebrate the birthday of President Bola Tinubu. Amadin Uyi has details.
They converged on the Unity Fountain in Abuja. Members of the disability community from across the federal capital say it is a double celebration, the Easter celebration and the birthday of President Bola Tinubu. Some of them say the current government has been fair to Nigeria's disability community.
This administration
does not joke with persons with disabilities. And they just started. They are not even up to 1 year. In 2 months, they're going to be 1 year. So imagine another 7 years to go. So much.
For others, it was an opportunity to rate the performance of government.
I am really happy for the president in the aspect of including persons with disability. Like myself, for the first time of being interviewed as a coming out in the midst of people, I think it's a privilege.
We are happy, and we said we must celebrate him because he has done what others cannot do for us. He has included it in so many things that we expected. And we are also expecting that he will do more for us.
The government has the interest of persons with disability in mind. And the Lagos State, when the president was the governor, Lagos was the first state to pass the disability law in this country.
Persons with disability, they have not had it so good like this before. Since President Tinubu took over power, he has created an enabling environment. The first thing he did was to appoint the senior special assistant to the president of special needs and equal opportunity.
They are also calling for more funding for the National Disability Commission and more intervention programs for members of their community. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Christians in Abuja have called on fellow Christian faithful nationwide to embrace the spirit of forgiveness as part of the Easter celebration. This was as they trooped out in mass to mark the Easter Sunday, saying the current economic situation in the country will not dampen the mood of the special Christian celebration. Amadine Uyi paid a visit to the Family Worship Center in Abuja and has details.
They had converged with the dance and celebration. The church was filled as Christian faithful trooped out en masse to mark the Easter celebration. After spending time with the dance and music, there was a drama playlet to remind Christian worshippers of the essence and significance of the Easter celebration.
Easter basically is to celebrate the death and the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, who came and died on our behalf so that we will have salvation. By his death and his resurrection, by his death he paid for our sins, taking our place for the penalty of sin, which was death.
The key message of the day revolved around forgiveness to one another, promoting peace and harmony. The pastor of the church gave reasons why.
The first thing God did, the Bible says, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So he forgave us first, even before he came and died in our place. And for us as human beings, the best thing that God expects us to do is to replicate everything that he has done in our lives to other people.
Other members of the church also had a word for their fellow Christian believers, but this time to all Christian faithful around the country.
It's the time for everyone to actually forgive people, love them as Christ has loved us, So that's what I want every Christian to go on with today.
The word alone, things are difficult right now, but the only solution is Jesus Christ. Okay? Let's just embrace him. This Easter period is the time that he died for our sake, for the love that he has for us. He came and died, gave himself for us.
Unforgiveness is a bondage, so you forgive people and show people love. What we preach is love. The summary of the characteristics of Jesus Christ is love. Say, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So share love to people around you. That's the starting point of a Christian.
They should keep sticking to God. They should look up to him, because at all time, his love is permanent and unconditional.
Many of them said despite the economic hardship being experienced around the country, this will not dampen their celebration. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
To talk about the significance of Easter, I'm joined live on the news by the lead pastor, Transforming Church, Reverend Sam Oye. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, it's such an honor to be with you today, and happy Easter to you all right there at East Central.
All right. Now, I mean, share with me, what is your key message to Nigerians in the light of the Easter celebration?
Well, the major
to us is this. I want you to think about the fact that Jesus, before he was buried, was doing very well. Everything was going on well for Jesus. And then all of a sudden he was captured, arrested, and then he was demobilized. The next thing we noticed was that Jesus was buried. Now, when Jesus was buried, everybody had given up hope that Jesus was ever going to rise up again. But on the third day, he rose again. The message is this for Nigeria. Nigeria can still bounce back. The Easter message is a message to everyone and anyone who cares to hear. And no matter how bad things may have turned in your life, if Jesus could rise again, if Jesus can rise again, you can rise again. If Jesus can bounce back, you can bounce back. And that is the central thing today, to say to us, let's not throw our hope away, because things can turn around in our favor.
Now, the current economic hardship, in the country, saying, is there even really a need to celebrate? Is there any cause to celebrate Easter? What do you have to say about that, Reverend?
I understand that we are going through a challenging time. And I want to realize that we've always had
challenging times in our nation's history. I remember as a child, there was a time when we had SAP. We had all kinds of challenges in the country, but then we've all come out of it. This year's Easter is not about a celebration with rice and stew. It's about celebrating hope. It's about celebrating possibility. It's about celebrating the fact that Nigeria will still bounce back. So the thing to celebrate is a possible future that our country still has.
Well, just in closing, Reverend, I wonder what your advice is to Nigerians in navigating. I hear you when you say Nigeria would bounce back, but for the average Nigerian trying to navigate or cope, what would be, from a religious point of view, what would be your advice in terms of coping mechanism for them?
Well, in tough times like this, nothing keeps us going through adversity until the time of prosperity, like holding on to our faith, staying in the place of prayer, and making sure we are productively engaged. Finding something to channel our energy into whilst waiting for things to totally turn around in the country. So my challenge to an average person is to be productively engaged. Make sure you don't throw your faith away. And I want you to also make sure that you stay true to your faith. This will soon pass away.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the news, Reverend Sam Oye, lead pastor, Transforming Church. Thank you once again.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
And now to health matters. The federal government has approved the disbursement of 25 billion naira through the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund to bolster healthcare infrastructure in state. Professor Mohammed Pate, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, made this known on Saturday in Abuja at the 6th meeting of the BHCPF Ministerial Oversight Committee. Pate said the funds were designated for direct facility financing and workforce incentives across the state. The minister said that the initiative was in line with President Bola Tinubu's agenda and commitment to improving healthcare outcomes for Nigerian women, children, and vulnerable population, and adds that disbursement would be facilitated through gateways including the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and National Health Insurance Authority. And to help unpack these, I'm joined live on the news by a public health researcher, Dr. Matthew Okocha. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Let me start by asking what your thoughts are on the 25 billion naira allocation for health infrastructure across 36 states in Nigeria.
So I think whatever one thinks is going to be relative, and so I would like to put it in this way, so that you and your viewers can make their own determination. First, the entire allocation to health falls grossly short of the Abuja Declaration that was made in 2001, to which Nigeria is signatory. That declaration was that the budget, health budget should be at least 15% of the nation's budget. But we know that the budget that we have today for 2024 and for previous years is a far cry from that. With just somewhere less than 5% being budgeted for health. And then this 25 billion is a subset of that amount that was budgeted. Of course, 25 billion sounds big. Sounds like a lot of money to any person who is listening. But if you look at it infrastructure-wise, so let's look at this. To get a state-of-the-art MRI machine to the, let's say, 7 Tesla MRI machine, you need nothing less than $6.5 million to get one. Now, 25 billion naira in dollar terms, using 1,300, which is the current exchange rate, gives us somewhere around 19 million US dollars. Now, with $19 million, that means you're only able to buy 3 MRI machines across 36 states of the country, including the FCT. With lots of people, travel across state lines for them to be able to have the MRI done. Some are not even able to get it done at all. So, with this 25 billion in this context, do you think? What do you think of it? So that's the issue. Of course, you will not be able to do everything in one day. But I think with this analogy that I have, painted, I think that 25 billion is way. The government can do better. That's what I have to say concerning that.
Now, in the light of what you have said, what should have been done instead of the 25 billion naira budget, infrastructure budget for a health sector across the states of Nigeria? What would you have, expected to be done in place of this allocation of this amount of money across the states of Nigeria for health?
Okay, so in all things that you do, money is important, but you don't just throw money at your challenges. Talking about health infrastructure, it's not just about materials that you need. It goes across the entire spectrum of the health sector, including the public health institutions, the health workforce, and then the IT required to support the process. So, a few years back, I was opportune to interface with the government of Rwanda through one of their health agencies, and you could see that they had a 10-year development plan for manpower need in their health sector. So, where is our own strategic direction with respect to improving the health sector in Nigeria? And during the COVID era, a senior government official told us on national TV that they didn't know that the health sector is in that bad a shape. Now, so we should so from then till now, what exactly has happened? It's not just about throwing money at things. It's about sitting down and setting an agenda, a framework that would help you to address whatever issues that you have across the whole sector, right from the primary healthcare to the tertiary level, to the tertiary institutions, including the health insurance that you just mentioned now as part of this 25 billion that was budgeted for the health sector across the 36 states. So the first thing is to get a blueprint of where are we headed. I mean, what are the deficits that we have? What do we need to to get this done? How are we going to get this done? If we need collaboration from other if we need external support, I mean, we know what exactly we are able to afford, where exactly we need help, and then you're able to itemize what you need. For example, recently they told us that the government has announced an increase or a doubling of the number of medical students admitted into medical schools. Now, increasing the number of people that you admit to medical school, how does that solve the problem of people leaving the country? What is the guarantee that when these people come out, they are going to, they're going to stay in the country? Back in the day, I mean, in the early 1990s, as an undergraduate student, we used to stand on top of tables and chairs to be able to see what the lecturer is doing. Has that changed?
Well,
so this is to say,
I'm afraid that's the most we can take on this edition of the news. But thank you so much for sharing your insight, Dr. Matthew Okon, public health researcher. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
You're live with News Central TV. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. The news continues in North Africa, where Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi begins his third term this week, buoyed by massive fresh financing. But experts say the road out of economic crisis will still be long and arduous. Sisi won December's presidential election with 89.6% of the votes, standing against three unknowns. He's set to begin his third term officially on Wednesday, with local media reporting that he will swear the oath before Parliament the day before. Pundits have speculated about a potential cabinet reshuffle as Cairo struggles to contain the fallout from 2 years of punishing economic crisis and dire foreign currency shortages. More than 1,000 demonstrators took to the streets of central Tunis to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. The event marks Palestinian Land Day, an annual commemoration of a deadly 1976 crackdown on protests against Israeli land seizures.
أقل ما نجم نعمله للشعب الفلسطيني شعب قاعد يعاني depuis des années donc يوم الأرض c'est une occasion باش ديما نتفكروا اللي هي فما مظلمة في أرض فلسطين واللي نحن كعرب ومسلمين لازمنا نوقفوا مع أخواننا.
بمناسبة يوم الأرض 30 مارس من كل عام خرجنا باش نذكروا أن القضية الفلسطينية جزء لا يتجزأ من الشعب التونسي وأن الشعب التونسي ماهوش نسي القضية الفلسطينية وما هيش حكر عنها.
The Central Bank of Nigeria will rigorously oversee the banking sector recapitalization to thwart illicit funds. Haruna Mustafa, Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department at the CBN, outlined this in the circular to various banks, including proposed ones. The directive aims to enforce a new minimum capital requirement. The CBN, in conjunction with law enforcement agencies, seek to guarantee that funds raised during recapitalization are clean and devoid of illegal origins. This concerted effort underscores the commitment to maintain integrity and transparency in Nigeria's banking system amid the recapitalization process. And to help unpack this, I'm joined by an economist and senior manager at PwC Nigeria, Abiodun Kayode Ali. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to have you join me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, some of the bankers expressed concern that while the central bank prefers them to retain most of their earnings to reinforce their capital base, it should not, prevent them from from counting these undistributed earnings as part of their capital. Do you think the CBN might, in sort of some ways, rethink this aspect of its guidelines?
Yeah, thanks. And that's a very good question. Truly, that's the concern of some of the banks that we have. In a straightforward and simple way to answer it, I'm not sure the CBN would budge to that request by the bankers. And the reason why I don't think so is because what the CBN is actually looking out for is fresh capital injection. So the CBN has said that they shouldn't bring forward equity owners, retained earnings basically, right? Reserves by equity holders. So if you consider it, the CBN is interested in capital, fresh capital, as opposed to earnings from profits being made. What the CBN is trying to do in a nutshell is to avoid a situation whereby some banks already have hit that particular capitalization policy even before it took effect. Because if you consider the retained earnings of some of the tier one banks, they already have crossed that threshold. They've crossed it entirely. So to avoid banks using retained earnings, the CBN would rather prefer a fresh capital injection. And it has given suggestions on how these banks can actually go about its true rights issues, private placements, or going public through public offerings. So I think these are some of the things that the CBN will still stick to. I don't think the CBN would give them that leeway to make use of retained earnings.
Well, let's talk about the downsides of this communique. What impact would it have negatively on the banks in Nigeria?
Okay, yeah, and that's a very good question. Even though the actual reason behind this policy is to ensure a sound and stable financial system and a strong one that can withstand shocks. Like you said, there might be some downsides, even though it might not be as significant as the pros. Some of the downsides that we can see is, first of all, local investors, they are faced with the local challenges, right? With respect to inflation, with respect to high cost of doing business, right? So they might not have that additional capital to invest in these banks. So the next thing or the next place these banks can turn to will be foreign investors. Foreign investors themselves, they are looking into what is going on in the economy. They don't want a situation whereby they will bring in their capital at maybe a certain rate, and by the time they are taking it out, the capital has depreciated in its value. So that's one challenge that we have there. Another challenge that might occur is based on the impact of banks not meeting up this threshold. If some of these banks are unable to meet up with this threshold for their current license arrangements, what we're going to see is that they are going to have a downgrade. And if there is a downgrade, there might be instances where there might be losses of jobs. So I'll give you a good example. Where some national banks now have to meet that minimum capital of 50 billion and they are unable to do so, they might downgrade to regional banking, which means that they don't cover the entire nation, right? So it means that in those areas whereby they no longer operate, those who are working there as bankers would have to find alternative jobs, right? So these are two quick downsides we can see from this policy.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight on the news. Abiodun Kayode Ali, Senior Manager at PwC. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
You're live with News Central TV. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. In the world of sport, Ikorodu City FC retained their Lagos State FA Cup title with a commanding 2-0 victory over a gallant Inter-Lagos side at the Mobolaji Johnson area, Onikon Stadium on Sunday. The match was a true spectacle of Lagos football at its finest, with both teams showcasing their skills and determination. Ikorodu City, the reigning champions, came out swinging, and it was Harrison Austin who opened the scoring with a delightful strike in the 39th minute, sending the Ikorodu faithful into a frenzy. Not content with a single goal lead, the Oga boys continued to press, and Tosin sealed the deal with a penalty just before the hour mark. Both Ikorodu City and Inter-Lagos will now represent Lagos State in the prestigious Federation Cup. Rivers United secured a crucial 1-0 victory over USM Alger of Algeria in the first leg of their CAF Confederation Cup quarter-final clash in Nigeria on Sunday. Augustine Ojefa emerged as the hero of the home side, breaking the deadlock in the 10th minute with a clinical strike from the edge of the box at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. Despite USM's arduous efforts to contain Rivers United, the Nigerian team's physical dominance proved to be a significant factor throughout the game. USM Alger struggled to match the intensity of their opponents, who looked eager to score more goals. Looking ahead to the second leg in Algiers on April 7th, USM Alger face an uphill battle as they seek to overturn the deficit and secure passage to the semi-finals. In the final of the Abiye State Football Association Cup, Abiye Warriors claimed victory over Enyiba International Football Club of Aba with a 4-2 win on penalties at the Umuahia Township Stadium. Following a 1-1 deadlock at the end of the regular time, the match progressed to a tense shootout where Abiye Warriors exhibited greater mental fortitude. The game, as anticipated, was a mix of physicality, excitement, entertainment, and intensity. Coach Bethel Orji made 2 alterations to the lineup from the previous semi-final, with Ifeanyi, Amanema, and Collins Nwoburuke earning starting berth. The contest began at a brisk pace, with both teams striving for control in a typical cup final scenario. Despite injuries to key players, Abiye Warriors maintained their composure in the shootout, securing the trophy with a composed finish from Ayodele Zikel. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. 13 killed, 2 injured in Kogi auto crash, north-central Nigeria. Egyptian President Al-Sisi begins 3rd term. Tunisian demonstrators march in support of ceasefire in Gaza. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.
And that's the end of today's edition of Business Edge. You can visit our social media handles at News Central TV and also visit our website www.newscentral.africa. And you can download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. I'm Likon Obanjo. Enjoy the rest of your day.